Alright, you guys, welcome back to the channel. Here for some more Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. Today, we're going to be going over all the details that you need to know about the upcoming project, Age 1000. The reason why I'm calling it Xenoverse 3, I'm sure you guys have heard the news by now, but Bandai Namco Southeast Asia created a playlist titled the playlist Xenoverse 3, and within the playlist was the Age 1000 teasers trailer. So they technically leaked this. I know people are waiting for official confirmation at Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour 2026, which is totally fine and understandable. Other people are taking this as official confirmation. So to each their own. Going back over here, big thanks to DBS Hype for providing this list. We're going to be going over every single bullet point, just discussing some things. I find this very interesting. These aren't leaks. This is not coming from a hidden source. All the bullet points that we have here are nothing but concrete info coming from Hirano-san, who gave us additional details after they premiered Project Age 1000 at Genkidama Matsuri, or this is info coming from the official Dragon Ball Games Twitter page. So without further ado, please make sure to drop a like, turn on post notifications, subscribe if you're new around here. I'll greatly appreciate it, and let's jump straight into it. So, some highlights of Age 1000 / Xenoverse 3 from last month. It hasn't even been a month yet, or maybe it has, and a lot of people are talking about this game. This project is going to feed generations, mark my words. First bullet points, been in development for about 6 or 7 years. That is pretty dang crazy when you start to think about it, just because before this project, the longest Dragon Ball game that's been in development was Sparking Zero. Jun Furutani, the producer of Sparking Zero, said many times in interviews that Sparking Zero has been in development for about 5 years. And if you go over to that game, the graphics, animations, cutscenes, the cel-shaded look, the gameplay, mechanics, features, I know there's not a lot of content to do in that game. We can create our very own custom stories. We have about 8 different playable character story missions, but for what it is, I think it's still a very fun game. And for Sparking Zero to be in development for 5 years, you know, you can see it. It shows for sure. Now, if Project Age 1000 really is Xenoverse 3, and comparing the 6 or 7 years of development time to the prequels, Xenoverse 1 and 2, this just blows them out of the water. We don't necessarily have concrete info of how long Xenoverse 1 and 2 were in development for. It's a bit strange because you probably noticed now they've been a bit more open in regards to the development time. Again, Jun Furutani with Sparking Zero said it took about 5 years, and the very first stage or panel for Project Age 1000, they came out and said 6 to 7 years. But if you try to look for information for the older titles such as Xenoverse 1, Xenoverse 2, Fighters, DBZ Kakarot's, Dragon Ball The Breakers, I don't think there are any interviews out there that give us how long the development time for those specific games were. You know what I mean? So we could only speculate. I do feel like Xenoverse 1 took a bit more time in the development phase just because that is the foundation, right? They had to create everything from the ground up. Xenoverse 2, they reused a lot of the assets from Xenoverse 1. Obviously, it is the sequel. And we do have the release dates to kind of give us a bit more of points. So Xenoverse 1 released back in 2015, February, and then about a year and a half later, closer to 2 years, we got Xenoverse 2, 2016, October. So that's why I feel like Xenoverse 2's development time was about 2 years. But my point is, if we take a look at Xenoverse 2, compare the gameplay, features, mechanics to Xenoverse 1, night and day difference. Just with 2 years of development, the game is significantly better. I know the online netcode is still horrendous, but it's way better compared to Xenoverse 1. You know, they added way more gameplay mechanics, making the game more fast-paced, more competitive. You know, with the key canceling, you get to snap vanish, do all that crazy stuff, limit break, limit burst, whatever it's called. And not even that, but, you know, the graphics. I know they use the assets for the character models. It is the prequel or sequel, so it does make sense. But just 2 years, and they changed up the game completely. From selling, what, maybe 2 to 3 million copies, Xenoverse 1, to selling 10+ million copies with Xenoverse 2. That's how great the game is. I say this to this day. Xenoverse franchise is probably like one of the better ones out there, in my personal opinion. So now going over to Xenoverse 3 with the 6 or 7 years of development time, I truly feel like Xenoverse 3 is going to be completely different to Xenoverse 1 and 2. Is that just me? Maybe it might be a bit more similar to Dragon Ball Online, which is kind of funny to say because Xenoverse obviously heavily inspired by Dragon Ball Online with the characters, the MMORPG. Xenoverse 3 just might be a bit more of that open world MMORPG feel. Who knows? We do have to wait for a bit more details, but I just can't wait to finally get some footage of Project Age 1000. It's going to be a great time. So yeah, 6-7 years of development, always nice. Now they've been putting a ton of emphasis on this part. Toriyama has been heavily involved in the project. If we go over to the Gekidama Matsuri stage, it says right here, Toriyama Sensei has been involved in Age Project 1000 with world building, characters, and many more aspects. Even if we skip forward to about right here, more elements and settings were packed into Age 1000 than any other game, and Mr. Toriyama has put a lot of work into it. That's the second time, and then another one around the 720 mark. As a fellow Toriyama Sensei fan, I feel a great responsibility to bring out the new Dragon Ball world and its characters, which Toriyama Sensei entrusted to us, which is great to hear. Who wouldn't want a Dragon Ball game where Toriyama actually put a lot of time and effort into? Now, of course, Toriyama did contribute to a lot of the older Dragon Ball games. Not old, but more of the recent ones. For example, the character designs. If we take a look at Dragon Ball Legends, Toriyama created Shallots, I believe his brother as well, Giblets, and the antagonist, I think his name is Zaha. So that's cool stuff over there. Even in Dragon Ball FighterZ, Akira Toriyama designed Android 21 with her many Majin transformations. I think she has about 3 Majin forms: the good, the evil, and like the sinister purple transformation, whatever. I didn't play the fighter story mode. And even in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Bonyu, an additional member to the Ginyu Force. So for them to say that Toriyama has been heavily involved not only with the characters, but the world building and many more aspects, sign me in, bro. Who doesn't want this? Imagine just exploring, whether if it is an open world environment or just an extremely large hub where you get to free roam around in, like Xenoverse 2 Kanton City, but 10 times larger than that. Just imagine the architecture, the design of the buildings, the vehicles, because Toriyama also has a distinct taste whenever designing vehicles, just the open world environments. It's additional Dragon Ball lore, and who doesn't want that? So I just want to get my hands on the game already. And you know what's cool? Another Dragon Ball game that Toriyama was heavily involved in, some of you guys probably already know this, Dragon Ball Online. It says down here, the overview, the Dragon Ball series creator Akira Toriyama had great deal of creative control over the project, both contributing to and having complete supervision of the story and art design. Something similar to Project Age 1000, right? Including character and location arrangements, every single thing in the game, from the usable in-game techniques to story elements, had to be checked by Akira Toriyama, and if consent was given from him, were then allowed to be placed in the game. Toriyama was also working on character designs for Dragon Ball Online for the last 5 years prior to 2008. The story created by Toriyama and the developers occurs 250 years after the events of the original manga. So I know this is not Project Age 1000, but again, just reading this bullet points reminded me of Dragon Ball Online. Many elements and settings were packed in this project than any other game in history. I know it says any other game in history. I'm pretty sure they meant any other Dragon Ball game. So what I think this is referring to is what it's going to take to build Dragon Ball Project Age 1000 as a whole. So you're looking at the complete picture, the mechanics, the features, how the character is going to be moving around or interacting with other characters, the story, what the plot, the lore is going to be like, the gameplay in general, the visuals, audio design, just what makes a Dragon Ball game great with its rich experience. Or I could be reading this tweet wrong. Maybe the elements and settings are referring to the actual in-game content, which if that's the case, Xenoverse 2, prime example, this is probably the current Dragon Ball game with a plethora of different content. You get to create your CAC, level them up, design them with the clothing pieces, switch out the supers, ultimates, transformations. We have 5 different races: Earthlings, Saiyans, a Korsian race, the Frieza CACs, Namekians, and Majins. And we have plethora of different game modes: 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, the story campaign, parallel quest missions, expert missions, raid missions, the crystal boss missions where it's a 1v5 or 2v4, and all that just amplifies with every single DLC. They just recently included the Chilai and Broly parallel quests. So elements and settings, I'm pretty sure that's more referring to what it takes to build the game as a whole, with what I've said before, the mechanics, features, visuals, all that crazy stuff, or contents, whatever it's referring to. This is going to be blowing all the other Dragon Ball games out the water. The next 2 bullet points are kind of similar. Game will allow players to experience the new Dragon Ball worlds, and Age 1000 is set quite far into the future of the Dragon Ball timeline. Of course, there will probably still be the iconic landmarks like the Sacred Land of Korin, Kami's Lookouts, the Kame House, Rocky Mountains. All of that will still probably exist, but everything else, we could have new locations, just the environments of the worlds that they created. It is set in Age 1000, so maybe something similar to Dragon Ball Online. Now, I want you guys to think of the latest events that happened in Dragon Ball. I'm talking about the anime, whether it's Super, Dragon Ball GT. What was during the latest age that we've seen animated? Well, GT is up there for sure, because GT took place in 780, 790. I know Dragon Ball Z was like 760 through 774, Daima 775, Super around 780. But even beyond that, after Dragon Ball GT, we got a Hero's Legacy. This took place during Age 89 with Goku Jr. Don't know who Goku Jr. is, I'm sure you guys do. Son Goku Jr. is the great-great-grandson of Pan and descendant of Goku. Age 1000 takes place, 111 years after Goku Jr., A Hero's Legacy? Dude, everybody is gone during Goku's Jr. timeline, except for Pan, a few other characters, I'm sure. But that's how far this game is going to take place in. So again, I keep going back to the open world environment with the bullet points that we have here. This is like one of the main things I'm looking forward to the most, which again, Toriyama was heavily involved in. Game will feature more never seen before characters, which is a given. The very first freaking teaser, they revealed the, I'm assuming, Xenoverse 3 CAC mascot for the game, John 1000, again developed by or designed by Toriyama, and also this Descendants variation of Goku, obviously Age 1000, this is not Goku, maybe like Goku Jr.'s great-great-grandson or something. I don't even know at this point, but very, very similar, so definitely a Descendants. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get even more characters leading up to the release of the game, or maybe even, like during Battle Hour 2026. I actually would like to see more about the game than just characters. Don't get me wrong, getting, additional characters that we haven't seen, always a plus, but again, going back to the world, I want to see gameplay of that, see how large all that is going to be, the storyline, the gameplay, Hey, man, there's only a certain amount of videos I can create, Bandai. We need y'all to drop even more info for us, please. So this is basically what I wanted to go over today, just all the concrete details that we have in regards to Project Age 1000. Once again, shout out to DBS Hype for sharing this tweet over here. Let me know down below if you guys are looking forward to this game. If it's not Xenoverse 3, if it's like a different Dragon Ball game, it doesn't necessarily matter to me. I'm still going to be playing the heck out of this game for sure, so stay tuned to the channel for all the details and contents. I would greatly appreciate it. And so yeah, this is it for today's video. Thank you guys for the immense support. See you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.